All right, welcome back to The Clever Angle, the show where we explore the stories behind the people shaping our world. Today, I've got my friend Griffin on. He's going to tell us a lot about his career. Griffin, I appreciate you being on the show, man.
Absolutely, Tevin. Thank you for having me.
Hey, no problem, man. So, if you just want to give us just a little bit of a background on you, what you do, and then we'll dive into how you got there.
Okay, so I am originally from South Louisiana. Obviously, we're currently in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Don't think I ever expected to be here, but graduated college late, and now I am the late night 10 p.m. anchor at our local news station, KAIT, and also reporter and kind of jack of all trades. I feel like I definitely get asked to do a whole bunch of different stuff, but path to get here wasn't normal, I would say, but yeah, that's where we're at now, and I'm enjoying it. I mean, people like y'all have made it a nice thing to be here for sure.
Yeah, man. I think one of my favorite things about doing podcasting is just getting to sit down with different people from, all different walks of life. So, tell me just a little bit about like what it was like growing up in Louisiana. Like how were the schools down there? Did your parents like kind of push you academically to do a certain thing? Did you have siblings, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I grew up with an older sister. She's 2 years older than me, and she was the academic of our family. My dad was very education heavy. My mom is a teacher. She was a speech and drama teacher and English teacher. So that was kind of the hard part about not being great in school, was having a teacher as a mom. And but that wasn't me. My sister was always the example that I had to follow, and it wasn't great for me. And schools in Louisiana, I mean, everybody always thinks about, in Arkansas is not much different. We're two at the bottom in education.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's one of those things. But we had good school systems, but went to private school when I was young, and that was so different. My parents got divorced when I was 8, switched to public school in 5th grade. And at a young age, that's just a shock. Private school to public school.
What was the biggest difference between private school and public school? I'm curious.
The size. So you're learning with 15 to 20 other kids in the same class all day. Like you're going from class to class to class, even when you don't switch classes that much. Then in public school, even in 5th grade, you all have different schedules. You're in a class with maybe 3 people all day. Like maybe 3 people have the same classes as you all day. And then in high school, it gets a little bigger because there's honors classes and AP classes and all that. So if I just call this the dumb kids. If you're part of the dumb kids, you probably have the same classes all day.
Yeah.
But that was probably the biggest difference, because it was a shock of like, I know everybody in my class and we're generally friends at a private school. But then when you go to a public school and you have a class with 16 different people each hour, you don't really get to know them. You don't have in my opinion, a great learning environment, because you're changing your scene every hour. And that's so much harder to think about whenever you're 9, 10, 11 years old.
So when you were in that private school setting, would you say like most of the kids had like similar personalities, or like you said you were in class with the same kids all day? Were there other classes of kids, or was that just the only class?
So it was a little bit bigger of a private school. So there was like 2 classes of 4th graders, 3rd graders, whatever. And I don't think until 4th grade, which was right after 4th grade, my parents got divorced. That was the first time I had ever switched a class. So I had one teacher for almost everything. It was because, I mean, the education system in Louisiana is so weird, where when you're younger, you have one teacher for everything. You get to 1st grade is really the first time you go, okay, I have this teacher for these 3 subjects and this teacher for these 4 subjects. But that was so different because you're switching one time from the same group of kids to another teacher. But then whenever I went to public school, it was I'm going from here to here to here to here. And the 3 friends that I had in the first hour, I don't see again until the 6th hour of the day. So it's one of those things that shocked my system, I think. And it made me not interested in school because, like, I want to learn with people I want to learn with. And that's how I have always viewed education. The environment you're in has a lot to do with how much and how well you learn and how much you absorb. Because if you're not comfortable, then you're not really going to learn anything. You're not going to pay attention. You're not going to do a whole lot of things. So making you uncomfortable by switching classes and not knowing anybody just was weird to me. So it took me a while.
So you said there was 2 classes of 4th graders for, just for the example. Did you ever interact with that other class?
Yeah, I mean, recess. I mean, and we also, it was such a, not a small town, but I mean, smaller than where we moved whenever my parents got divorced. But we all played baseball together, so we knew a bunch of them, but there were definitely groups of cliques. There were cliques for sure that really hung around each other all the time. And I was kind of the outlier of the clique that played baseball. And I was always the one in the other class. So it was weird for me. I mean, I had a lot of weird friends. I had a lot of the weird kids, quote unquote. So I kind of lumped myself into that. Like I was one of the weird kids, and I embraced it pretty much my whole life. And but yeah, we talked a good bit. It was just you didn't see him until recess, and then you didn't see him until baseball practice. So that was pretty much it.
Yeah. So when you refer to yourself as weird, what would you say? Why would you say that you were weird? I'm just curious of how people see themselves at different stages.
Weird as in like it's hard to lump weird into one specific category or even a couple of categories. I always looked at weird as like I'm just not one of the what you would call a cool kid. You have a lot of
you played baseball.
Yeah, but weird kids played baseball.
Okay.
Weird kids play baseball. I mean, you'd be surprised at how many people are, D&D fans that are in the major leagues right now. But that's what you would kind of consider. Some people would consider a weird kid in elementary school.
Were you a D&D kid?
No, but I enjoyed Pokemon and all that.
Oh, dude, you were just like the rest of us.
I know. Okay. But like it was a. But there were definitely kids that were not that in private school.
Gotcha.
So I think being on the outlier category of the cool kids, I was always in the middle. And I know we'll get into it more when we get into high school. I did the same thing in high school. I kind of knew everybody in every clique, but I wasn't really in a clique.
Okay.
So I was always the outlier of every group. I was the one that wasn't a solid member.
So do you think that your experience in school is shaping your what you want to do with your kids in the future as far as schooling goes?
Yeah, I think I've always, and me and Jade, my fiance, talk about a lot of our future kids and how we want to go about it, because she was in honors classes. She was in AP class, not AB. She hates when I say that, but honors classes and gifted classes. That's what I was thinking of. But I was not. I was in regular classes, and if we can't afford it, I would love my kids to go to private school or a charter school.
Okay.
So just because the public education system in Louisiana is not the best, but we have avenues to explore outside of public education, and I know a lot of people do. There's charter schools here that people explore, and every state's different, so it's tough to say that the charter schools here are the same as Louisiana. But the charter schools in Lafayette specifically are growing so fast, and I want to see where they go before I decide, yep, that's where I want to put my kids. But private schools kind of the same. They've grown, but they also have the money to grow. They can afford to grow and pay more teachers and build more buildings, and because they're tuition based. So it's charter schools have the same level of education as a private school in Lafayette. and they just don't have the funding behind to hire those more teachers, hire those, or build those buildings and do all those different things in a timely manner that then creates a strain for education.
No, absolutely. And we're kind of getting to the age where we're starting to think a little bit more about schools for our own kids. You know, Ellery's 8 now, and she's really athletic, and she's really into cheer, and she's getting really good at basketball. And, you know, I'm from here, so I always had this dream of my kids going to my alma mater. So they're going to University Heights. That's where I went to when I was in elementary school. But I'm kind of starting to take off the rose-colored glasses to the fact that it's not the same school that is when I went there, and it's changed a lot. So just trying to navigate, like, okay, where's the best school going to be for her academically, for sports, and you know, like you said, a good environment for her to be able to learn in, because we can already tell that she's one of the big fish, like at her school. And I'm just worried a little bit about her being challenged going on. So it's just something that, you know, we're thinking about as she ages out of her school. I think this is the last year that before she goes to the intermediate school, which is like 3rd through 6th grade. So it's interesting hearing your take on private school.
It's definitely something you don't think about when you're thinking about kids. When you're, 16, 17, it's like, yeah, I want to have 3 kids, and I want to do this, and I want to do that with my kids. I want to put them in sports. I want to do that. You don't ever really think about at that age, like, what school is going to be the best for them to go to, that they're challenged enough that they get a good education and they're not just coasting by. Because sure, coasting by is great, getting all A's fantastic, but are you really being challenged enough? You don't think about that when you're 17, 18, 19 years old. You think about it when you're 30.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely you do. So you transitioned from public school, from private school, now you're in public school. What did your junior high to high school look like? Because, you know, that's the time where they're pushing the ACTs, and, you know, did you have trouble fitting in public schools, or was it just like a natural fit?
I feel like the best way to say was it was super challenging for a 10-year-old kid to just get shocked into a completely different system and a completely different, every teacher in the school knew who I was because, 1, my sister had just gone through those grades, and 2, my dad went there and half the teachers had been there for 30 years in private school. To, I don't know who the hell any of these people are. So not only am I learning teachers, they're learning me. I'm making new friends, living in a new neighborhood. Now my parents are divorced, so I'm getting driven to school for 2 weeks by my dad, walking to school 2 weeks from my mom's house. A lot of crazy things just changed in an instant, in a summer. And I don't think anybody's ready for that at 10 years old or 12 years old for my sister. I don't think anybody's ready for that ever. And it was definitely a challenge in middle school. By the time I hit 6th grade, so the middle school I went to was 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. It was junior high, It's funny, they don't call it junior high anywhere in Louisiana or anywhere in South Louisiana, which cracks me up. I always heard that growing up, and I was like, when am I going to junior high? And then you get to high school, and you're like, oh, I guess I skipped it. But it was definitely a challenge. 5th grade, really, just I knew no one, and it was really a tough atmosphere to go into a school, because a lot of these kids went to the same elementary school right down the road from the middle school, and some of them didn't, but they also had the other kids that went to the school they went to, because it's not independent school districts down there, so it's all the Lafayette Parish school system, and they're all under the same school board. So you don't have Nettleton,
really,
Jonesboro, you don't have any of that. It's
just
all
one school board,
one county essentially.
Yeah,
that's it. And it's just levels. So everybody went to the same school district. You just went to different schools. We had one superintendent. So just imagine everybody in Jonesboro.
What's the size of
Lafayette Parish? Probably about 250,000 people.
Are you
Yeah,
serious?
like total.
And one school district.
Hmm. I
So
mean,
I've
granted,
obviously,
this was 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Holy moly, 20 years ago. um, so it was probably about 80,000 people less, but I mean, still 150,000 people, one school district.
so obviously this was the public side though. Like
Yeah,
this was
yeah.
different from the.
Yeah. Oh, and there was that's another thing. We had 30 kids in each class in public school, and then you had 20 kids in each class in private school, less amount of classes, like maybe 2 classes in private school per grade. So you'd have 60 people in a grade. I graduated with 535 people. So
That was a shock there too. Then,
that's
huh?
at one high school. And but yeah, so they had those friends from the previous school that they were at, and the kids that went to the school down the road had their friends that they were friends with at that school, and I had me and my sister, and I made friends with some of the kids that lived in the neighborhood that I walked to school with, so that was a nice easy thing, just probably like I would have made friends on the bus, but through middle school was just a learning curve until really the end of 7th grade, where it was just, what am I, where am I, what is this? And then and not only that, but getting used to going back and forth from my mom and dad. So I had 2 different schedules. It was weird.
Okay, so now you've kind of settled in a little bit. You've been into the public school system for a while. Was there a time? Did you live primarily with your mom or your dad, or did you just split time?
So according to the court, primarily with my mom, but that was for probably 6 months. My dad had the every other Wednesday, every other weekend, or every Wednesday, every other weekend. But then it got too complicated. My dad was offshore all the time. He was in the oil field. He's been in the oil field my whole life. And he had a 14 and 14 schedule. So mom was just like, screw it. You take him for 2 weeks, I'll take 2 weeks off, and then I'll take him back for 2 weeks. So we went 14 and 14. So it was literally split time of 2 weeks of this schedule, 2 weeks of that schedule, back and forth, all year round. Yeah.
So, was there a time where you started taking school a little bit more serious? Because you said that you were just kind of like, I wouldn't say average in school, but like you said Jade was kind of like in honor school. Or did you ever say like, "Hey, I don't want to live here after I graduate," or like what was your plan from junior high to high school?
Simple answer is I didn't have one. My sister was, like I said earlier, that my sister was the example, and
Was she on the same schedule?
yeah, she was. And in Louisiana, I don't know what the exact law is, but most people just, when you're 12 years old, you can pick where you live if you want. If you have divorced parents, I don't know if it's 13, 14, whatever the actual age is, but that's kind of what we were raised on. Like, hey, when you're 12, you can pick if you want to live with me or your dad, and you come over here, like you come do things here. Like, it's not like you're not going to see me ever if you go live with your dad, but you can, if you want to permanently live with your dad, and then I'll see you every once in a while, whatever. Um, we both kind of chose to live with my mom. So my mom was cheated on by my dad, married my stepmom. So he didn't really want to be over there. It's like, you tore this up. I don't really want to be around you. Growing up, learned a little different. But so we both stayed with my mom, or she stayed with my mom for a while once she got to that age. And then I was still going back and forth. So I didn't even have that same person to be with anymore. But I never followed her example. And I think that was part of it. I didn't see her as much whenever she hit 13 years old. And, she's just going into high school. So I don't even see her at school anymore. So she was the example, and they would always compare me to her. It's like, well, if you want to compare me to her, I don't ever see her. So how is that fair? So I just kind of started slacking off. I didn't care. I didn't care about school at all. I hated it. I did not want to go. I was worse than average in some things. And I mean, I was a low B, C, D kid. Like, did not want to be there. Did my work. Not great, but I did it. I never really decided, hey, education is going to be my thing. I actually decided the opposite. I just was like, screw it. I'm just going to get a trade job or do something. And then once I got to high school, it kind of stayed the same. And then I think sophomore year, I started ag, which then led me to welding. And I was like, I'm going to go to welding school. I was pretty good at it. Never worked out, just never worked out that way. And then junior year specifically, I was never good at math. Math was my worst subject. Junior year specifically, I had the same Algebra 2 teacher that my sister had. I had a B through the first 6 weeks of school. They broke our school year up into 4 9-weeks. I think I had a 92 B, so almost an A. First 6 weeks of school, they switched my schedule to another teacher. Within 3 weeks, from the 6th week of school to the end of the first 9 weeks where we got report cards, I had a 54. So can you tell me that that's my fault? Probably not, because I had a 92 with the other teacher, and I'm not good at math. He taught me well. I learned from him well. My sister, I was able to be like, hey, is this what he's talking about? And she's like, yeah, because she had him. Again, following my sister's example. But they ripped me away from that, and I failed the first 9 weeks in 3 weeks.
Do you think that the education system is broken as far as like teaching kids? Because I hear about that a lot, of like certain kids excelling in certain environments. That environment gets switched up. They don't do as well. And I think that like they have like a cookie cutter approach of like, you should be able to learn this from anybody. And I just don't think that's true.
That's not true. And how are you going to rip something from someone, a kid who's doing well, who you can look historically? You have the access to the documents saying that I'm not great at math. I have C's and D's in geometry. And you have those papers. You can see my grades, and you see my grade right now. But then you still want to switch me to a guy that doesn't have a good success rate with people like me. There are people that were switched at the same time as me that did fine, but they're good at math. I'm not good at math. They have the access to say, that's one that we don't want to move. He's doing well. Let's see if he continues to do well. Why would you move that? But they don't care. They just have that, like you said, cookie cutter approach. It's like, oh, we have to do this because these people have to be in this class. But let's not take one person that's going to excel in math anyway, like maybe just dropped out of honors or just dropped out of gifted. Let's move them to his class instead of Griffin, because she's going to do well. She's going to do well no matter where we put her. She may have a 96A instead of a 99A, but Griffin went from a 92 to a 54. So that's evidently not going to work ever. And I hope it didn't happen to anybody after me. I know that's a harsh reality that it 100% did, but consistency with children is one of the biggest things that I think nobody thinks about in education. You're just changing it up. It's hard enough for them to get used to one schedule. It's hard enough for them to go from a schedule during school and after school. And then everybody always says, oh, you got to take 3 weeks to get used to the school schedule again after a summer break, or take a few days to get used to the school schedule after winter break. But you're going to change their schedule one day. They have to get used to a schedule and just do the same thing that they were just doing. Kids that aren't good in a certain subject aren't going to do well in something like that. So consistency has always been my thing because of that situation. It's like, don't rip a kid from what they're succeeding in unless they want to rip themselves from it. Like, that's understandable. It's like, I don't like this teacher, but you're doing well. I just don't like them. That's one thing. But I never said that. But they didn't give me an option. So I've always been an advocate for consistency in a child's schedule and in school schedule specifically, because I was completely destroyed with that inconsistency of going for 6 weeks to the same teacher and finally feeling like I can learn math from this guy. I can learn math from Mr. Barra. And now I can't from Mr. Hamida. That's insane to me that you would do that to a 15, 16-year-old kid.
It's crazy to me because I feel like that we could all look back through our lives at these like key events that kind of set us on the journey of what we're going to do. And, you know, it seems like consistency probably has been one of your core things, like just ever since that moment.
From that moment, I knew, because I was told that, so I failed the first 9 weeks with a 54. I need to get at least an 86 now, each of the next 9 weeks to pass this class. Failed the second 9 weeks with like a 42. Okay, need a 94 to pass this class for the next 9 weeks. Failed the third 9 weeks with like a 68 or 66. Right under the D line. So guess what I did for the next 9 weeks?
Nothing.
Didn't go to the class. Why would I? I have no. I needed a 94 for this 9 weeks and this 9 weeks, and now I can either make the decision. They had Common Core and Core 4. So Common Core is your basic 4 English, 4 science, 4 math, 4 social studies. Core 4 is you only need 4 social studies and 4 English, and you can find a fourth science in some way, and you only need 4 maths, but it doesn't have to be those core maths. You can just take a random math. So I did financial math and math essentials. And then I made my 4th science up with, you did 2 ag classes. It was a half credit each. So ag science was my full science, 4th. And so the rest of my junior year was just screwing off. I didn't care. I didn't go. That was the 5th hour of my day and right after lunch. So I had a long lunch. And then the 6th hour of my day was chemistry. Had the same teacher my sister had. Was not good at science and chemistry because it was a lot of math, but I still had a C. I was doing fine because he actually taught me well. I slacked off because I didn't care. Probably would have had a B or an A if I would have stayed in consistent control of my schedule and been aware of everything going on in chemistry. But then after that class, I had U.S. history, and I was really good at history. And he didn't hate me. He hated the fact that I didn't go, and I would still come and take the test and make a 95 or above. And so at the end of the year, I had a 64 in that class because that was one of the ones. It was right before the end of the day. So I just would not go to that class and leave and just go home and go hang out with my friends, go do some things that I probably shouldn't be doing. And then at the end of the year, I had that same U.S. history teacher look at me and say, hey, you have a 64. You need to do this, 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 and this, and this to pass, whatever. And I was like, I'm probably not going to be able to do that. And he goes, I'll tell you this. You do 3 projects that you missed. You do 3 of your projects. And you get passing grades on them, like genuine passing grades. I'm not just going to help you out. I will void all of your other zeros. And it was only like 6 or 7 of them. I know it's a lot, but like comparative to like 15, it was half. And so I did those 3 projects. He voided all of my other zeros, and I passed the class with like a 71, a D. So I almost failed my junior year by 3 points because I failed Algebra 2. And if I would have failed U.S. history, I would have been repeating my junior year. And I went from that to a 4.2 in my senior year. I only had 4 classes, so it wasn't that hard. But I mean, I had Ag 3, which was kind of a piece of cake because we had a permanent sub all year because our teacher perma retired and took all of his PTO and didn't show up one day. So we just had a random sub, and we learned, but it wasn't like it would have been if he was there. And then I had financial math and math essentials, which teachers loved me because I was sitting right next to him, and I really wanted to learn because I was like, I didn't learn math last year. Let me try to learn a little bit this year. And then had, English 4, which was normal. So went from almost failing my junior year to passing my senior year, flying colors, no big deal. And then it was like, definitely not going to college because I dropped out of Core 4, graduated high school with a 2.3, like bare minimum. And so that's where my education experience shifted in those years. That was just like, I could do this. I could go to college. I wanted a business degree. Stupid, not good at math. But I had those thoughts. I wanted it. I did. I really did. And that shifted everything.
Were you a charismatic kid?
Yeah, I definitely had a big personality. I think I got that from my dad. My dad was in the oil field, like I said, since he was 20, and had probably every position in the oil field. He's been a derrick hand, a company man. He's been a salesman. He's developed products, and he's VP of a product company now. So it's like he's had every position coming up through the oil field and had to have such a big personality. That's always what he had around us too. It was hard for him to switch that on and off every 2 weeks. So he just kind of had it all the time. His language would change when he wasn't on a rig and he was around us, but his personality stayed the same, and his big attitude towards everything stayed that way. And so I think it rubbed off on me and my sister. She didn't like it as much as I did, but I always thought it was funny and I always thought it was entertaining. So I kind of adapted to that. My dad's a little vain, and I mean, it's obvious to say anybody that's going to be on TV has got to be a little vain,
Right?
At least a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I get that from him. I feel like it's just like, and I'm genuinely like not vain, but I have that attitude because of him. Like, so I that always came out in school, and girls didn't like it. They thought I was full of myself, and behind closed doors, I'm like, this guy sucks, looking in the mirror. And so I had a charismatic personality in the sense of like, probably always had a girlfriend, probably always was around a group of people. Like I said, I was the outlier of every group. I was always around people that generally liked me, and I generally liked them, but we weren't friends. I just knew everybody. I was the group hopper. I kind of went around and just was like, what's up? How's everybody doing? What's going on? What's going on with y'all? And that was, I built it even more from what rubbed off on me from my dad. So a lot of, I guess, self-centered personality traits without being really self-centered. And it took me a while to realize that I wasn't self-centered, because I thought I just had to be cool, because that's what I felt everybody that was cool was.
So did you act like you said, you said earlier, you were like, someone that's on TV has to be at least a little vain, but you didn't consider yourself like conceited. And so did you act like differently when you were not around those types of, like, if you weren't trying to entertain, were you a different person?
100%. And that was a tough realization for me. Like, and you know me now. I'm the same throughout. Like, you watch me on TV joking with Charles and Ryan, and it's the same thing that I'll joke about at Life Group. So my personality now is blanket pretty much. But whenever I wasn't in those groups and hopping from group to group to group, and the thing about that was I was different with each group. I was that little tiny difference. Like, maybe I wouldn't say this type of joke in this group, or maybe I would, laugh a little different. And it's so subconscious. I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know I was doing that at the time. I thought I was just being me. I thought the differences were me, but I was being fake the whole time. And that was 100% a realization as I grew older of, that is not you, kid. Like, you don't need to do that to be liked. You can be you.
Have you ever heard of the term code switching?
Mm-hmm. I do. I still do it. I think everybody does it every once in a while, but I think that was probably the height of it for me in my life, because now I'm just like, I'm going to be me. If you don't like it, I don't care. But then, obviously, 15, 16, 17 years old, all you want is to be liked.
Be accepted and be liked,
Yeah. And so that's what I did. And I had a good group of friends. sleepovers, parties on the weekends, whatever. Had a good group of friends that I was with all the time and hung out with them. And
What separated your actual friends from just like the people you would say what's up to?
I think them actually wanted to hang out with me. It was pretty much anybody that wanted to hang out with me, I considered a friend. And I would say everyone was my friend, but if you didn't want to hang out with me, I wouldn't tell other people you were my friend. I wasn't that type of person. I wouldn't say, yeah, those are all my friends, I'm going to go hang out with them, and then not do anything with them ever, because I was just the outlier. But if you wanted to hang out with me, I was going to hang out with you, because I wanted to be liked. I just wanted to be accepted. And it was a lot of fighting within myself to say, and this was like right after high school, whenever I stopped seeing all those people every day. It was a lot of fighting with myself to say, you don't need to be like that. And that was a really tough time, because then I really didn't have any friends.
So you graduated high school. What did that chapter of your life look like?
After graduation? Mm-hmm. So this is where we get into the fun, Tev. So I worked at Smoothie King for my whole senior year, which was fun. I was a shift leader, and they told me that I couldn't have off for the Friday after my 18th birthday, and I was like, all right, I quit. And then didn't have a job for like a month. Used all my graduation money to pay rent. That's where I set up myself for financial failure.
When did you move out?
Summer right after senior year.
Okay.
So let me back up, because I want to tell you this story.
Absolutely.
Midway through my senior year, midway through, it was Christmas break. I lived with my mom permanently at this time. And she had remarried. He had 3 kids. We all lived in the same house. I shared a room with the older son. He's only a year young, or like 5 months younger than me. But we're at my great grandmother's house, and my mom loved to do this thing where me and my sister made plans for Christmas. My mom has nothing to do with those plans. She just gets told whenever we're coming to her house, and that's it. Like, but she loved to interject and try to, like, nope, do this. No, how about this? And it's like, well, me and my sister are making these plans, not you. That's just how it goes. And she kept trying to interject, and I just told her, Mom, we got it. Probably was a little disrespectful in the way I said some things, but I was just like, we got it. Stepdad gets in my face. Didn't like that at all. So I kind of cursed at him. He kind of cursed at me, and then had a whole situation. Then I drove home from New Orleans, went to my, packed a bag, went to my dad's house. That was a Saturday before Christmas. And the Monday I was at work. We're off of school, so I just had work all day. Get home at like 6. My mom's on the back porch with my dad and have a conversation. She's like, I think it's time for you to come live here permanently. So my mom essentially kicked me out over
how you were being towards your stepdad and her?
How my stepdad was being towards me, essentially.
Oh, okay. So she was on your side on that?
No.
Oh, she wasn't?
No, she was on his side. She chose to keep the paycheck and the lifestyle that he gave her. He was a machinist. He was a machine shop manager, so he made like $140 a year. So she was like, I think I'd rather this. That scarred me.
Was she getting pressure from the stepdad?
Probably. Like, I have no idea. We still have not fully talked about what happened after that situation whenever I left and they drove home together. No idea what that conversation was like.
Was the stepdad there, or was it just your mom and dad when you were having this conversation?
No, it was just my mom and dad. I don't think my dad would have let him on the property at all. It wouldn't have. I don't think that would have gone well for him at all.
Did you have any relationship with your stepmom or your stepdad, like, during that time? Like, before that?
More my stepmom, because my stepmom had been there since 2008. They got married, well, really 2006, right after my parents got divorced. Like I said, my dad cheated on my mom with her. So, but then they got married 2 years later, and then 3 years later, they had their first son. It's my older little brother. He just turned 14, literally Saturday. That's wild to say out loud. And then they had another one 2 years later who's 12. And so she was kind of she was not a great stepmom before the kids, the boys. But then when she had kids, she kind of got that maternal instinct. And it was like, oh, you understand a little bit more now. And she's very loving. She's very caring. So at this point, she's like, she treats me like her son. I am her son to her. Like that doesn't change the fact that she didn't give birth to me. She just treats me like her son. So at that point, it was kind of starting to get there. And so she was out of it. But after my mom left, it was like I don't appreciate this, whatever. But my dad never said anything. Like my dad was just like, yep, I think it is time for you to come here. So I thought my dad agreed with my mom. That scarred me. Like I couldn't even tell you what that did to my brain, because it screwed me up, because I'm sitting here thinking my mom's choosing a paycheck and a lifestyle over her own damn son. And I mean, when I say paycheck and a lifestyle, he paid for 2 boob jobs in a car, and like she had her dream car, a Jeep, and still has the dang Jeep. Still obviously has the other things too. But like that was what you chose over your own son was just insane to me. And so that relationship with my mom became something totally different. And she was almost immediately apologetic. Like the 6 months later, after I graduated high school, I got a tattoo of a cross on my back that she signed off for. I was 17. I didn't turn 18 until August of after graduation.
But you're living with your dad at this time.
Yeah. I got a tattoo. Dad hated it. Then I said, I'm going to move out. Mom co-signed the lease. 17 years old, living on my own. A month and a half later, turned 18. And just went wild.
So your reason for moving out, was it the situation that happened with your mom and your stepdad, or was it just like you were ready to be on your own?
I didn't necessarily like living with my dad. It really was what I needed, but I didn't like it. It was too strict. I was 18. I had a job. That was just my mentality. I was like, I'm not going to college. I have a job. I can afford it. I'm going to go move out. I don't want to live here. I want to make my own rules. This normal 17-year-old common thought process of just, I want to live on my own.
Yeah.
I want to do my own thing. And so my mom co-signed, and I lived with a buddy. And
so you're 17, 18 at this point. At this point, you said your sister's 2 years older than you. Is she in college?
Mm-hmm.
Did your parents ever like push you to pursue college, or did they not force the issue?
They tried, and I looked into community college. I looked into other options, trade school. Like I said, for a little while, senior year,
you're gonna be a welder.
Wanted to go to welding school, just didn't work out. I looked into a bunch of that, and nothing ever came to fruition. But then after I quit Smoothie King, because they wouldn't let me off, because I wanted to go out for my 18th birthday, and they wouldn't let me off, and so I quit. And then a month and a half later, found this job. My dad's fraternity brother from college was the HR director at and this is where we get a little familiar, as the beer distribution company.
Yeah.
And so I did that for a year, almost a year. And I mean, I'm just going out and I'm doing a lot of other stuff.
What's the age right now?
Still 18.
Still 18.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I after I turned 18, my 18th birthday, I quit Smoothie King, started working at the beer distribution company. It was Budweiser.
Okay.
Month and a half later.
So this is all just like...
This is all quick.
This is like a year that you got the tattoo, you got the job, you've moved out, co-signed on the lease, all of that.
Yeah. So then I'll bring you full circle in the year, April of 2015, after I graduated high school, not even a year after I graduated high school, I got a DUI. And that let me preface it. I got a DUI. I was 18. I blew .071. 21, not a DUI.
You know, the crazy thing about that incident, that exact same thing happened to me when I was 18. Summer after I graduated, I blew a .03.
.02 is the 18 legal limit.
Exactly, .03. And I had like had maybe one beer, and I was parked, but I was like behind the wheel, and I was with this girl, and and some of my friends, and we were at the Burger King off of Windover, and things were just like we just looked like suspicious kids out there. So like the Burger King workers called the cops on us or whatever. The officer showed up, made me blow, and I got a DUI. Like that honestly changed my whole life right there. But pretty much the exact same situation, the exact time in my life.
Yep.
So
It definitely will change your life at 18 years old. You get a DUI. I mean, it's shock to the system, sitting in booking for 12 hours waiting for my dad to pick me up. Thankfully, they didn't put me in a holding cell. Kind of wish they would have at this point, because I would have at least been able to lay down.
yeah,
But sitting in those uncomfortable chairs and booking for 12 hours waiting for somebody to come pick you up, and you've called them 4 times already.
yeah. My incident happened. It was Saturday night going into Sunday morning on Father's Day. So my dad was thrilled about that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Mine was, we have this crazy international festival every year in Lafayette, and it was the first day of it. I remember leaving and going to a friend's apartment, and we were just having a couple beers, and went bring one of them home. On the way back, got pulled over. My lights weren't on.
Yeah, the crazy thing about that was I ended up going to ASU, which is obviously here in Jonesboro. That wasn't my plan. Like I had already been enrolled in Conway at UCA, and the buddy that I was with that night, he had already been going to UCA. He was 2 years older. So my parents deemed me too irresponsible to go off to college, so I had to go to ASU. So,
And you look back on it and you're like, well, I kind of understand. It sucks, but I get their thought process, And my dad, it was an insane time in my life, that'll put you in a financial hole for a long time.
yeah.
I went to court, got put in pretrial intervention, which is a whole year-long program where you got to do everything. You got to go get a psych evaluation. You got to have the interlock system in your car. You have to. I had to be on 10 days of house arrest as part of this program.
Yeah, I don't think I had to do that. I didn't have to have the interlock, but I had to take like a driving safety class thing, and then I had to get driven to work. I was working at the grocery store at the time, had a fine, had to go to court, all of that. My aunt was an attorney, so she walked me through everything, and it sucked. I don't think I took a sip of alcohol for 5 years after that. I was just this basically ruined my life, So when I finally did get my license and stuff back, I was just the DD for all my friends pretty much through most of undergrad. It was after my 21st birthday before I had another sip of alcohol, because I was I'm never underage drinking again. So
yeah, I definitely didn't follow that specific path. Being from Louisiana, it's a little different for me, but I didn't drink for a long time. I mean, it was probably a year and a half. Definitely through the program. I drank a couple times, and I got in trouble with the pretrial intervention. It was essentially like a parole officer. She was keeping track of everything you were doing. You had to go through the program, go to the classes, the Mothers Against Drunk Driving classes, the defensive driving classes. Had to have the interlock system in my truck for a full year, and there was a time and I had to call every day to ask if I had to take a drug test. It was like the code I typed in. I had to do the whole system, and that was like a shock to my system. It was it made me grow up a lot through that year, and I didn't grow up enough still, but that taught me a lot about my life. And then, I mean, I was financially just screwed at that point. I had debt. I had to take out a loan to pay for some of that stuff, most of that stuff. And so I'm still going through that, and I have job after job after job. I quit. They kept me on. It was in their policy at Budweiser, you drink and drive, you're done. They didn't fire me. They just demoted me, which is the first time that had ever happened in the history of that company. And I still quit on them dudes 2 months later. I'm an idiot. I was an idiot. I was like, I don't want to do this. I was still making the same amount of money. I just couldn't drive, which I was only a merchandiser. So I turned into a helper
Yeah.
and was making more money than the merchandisers. And somebody that came on as a merchandiser, I was the trainer for the merchandisers as a helper. So technically lower on the totem pole. And he asked me, he's like, who's the best merchandiser we got? And I was like, me. So, and you know a little bit about that business.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, absolutely.
So that was really, I didn't want to be a helper. I was like, I'm not doing this. I want to be on my own. I don't want to be driven around training people. So I quit. Stupid. I was making good money, had a career. Even after I was done with the pretrial intervention stuff, I would have had a career. And because they gave me a shot and I blew it up in their faces. Then grocery store for, sold life insurance for a while. Like, did whatever I could to make any type of money, and it was never enough.
Did you ever have a job that made more than the Budweiser job after that, during that time?
The next time I worked there.
Oh, you went back.
Well, I mean, outside of the Army.
Yeah.
Because I'm not one of those people that's going to tell you I made crap money in the Army. Yeah, my paycheck was crap, but I got free housing, free food, free medical care. I know how much that costs. So I've never been that person that's going to tell you that I made crap money in the Army. My paycheck was crap, but I didn't have to pay for all this other stuff. So yeah, I went from a grocery store right after that to another grocery store to the insurance place, and then another grocery store because the insurance wasn't cutting it. And then started dating this girl in 2016 and got a job at Great American Cookie / Hershey's. So you can imagine how much weight I gained. And then I didn't have a place to live, so I lived with her. And we decided, like, we had conversation after conversation. It's like, this is only 5 months into our relationship. Like, we decided after conversations with, my sister, her, my dad, it's like my grandpa, my best friend, grandpa and best friend were also in the military, that I was going to enlist. And that was January 2017. And I did the delayed entry program, and left April 2nd and signed a contract for a $20,000 bonus because I was like, ooh, money. Stupid. But signed a contract for $20,000 bonus, left on April 2nd, 2017 to go to basic training right a little north of us in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And got out of basic training in June, went to Fort Eustis in Virginia, right off Virginia Beach, Newport News, and was there for 4 months doing my training. I was a Black Hawk mechanic and crew chief, so that was really cool. But the Army was insane, man. That's something that I never expected that I would do, even despite my best friend and my grandpa being in the Army. But that was a time in my life where I really learned a lot about myself. It was one of those scenarios where you're either going to fall or learn just how deep you really need to go to figure out who the hell you are. And that was what I did. I went and I messed up again during that time.
What'd you do?
Got arrested again. And I kind of told y'all about this in my testimony. That was the time I got arrested, and I was thankful enough that the person it affected let it go, and still had to go through a process, but it was let go, and everything was dropped, but that was just a shock, and that was all right. What are you doing? I thought the Army was doing good for me. And then this was only a year in really. This was April of 2018. So I thought I was doing good, 7 months in Hawaii.
So you graduated in 15. This is 18.
Graduated
So
in 14.
14. Okay. Yeah. So I graduated in 14. This is 18. So you're about, what, 22, 21, 22 years old?
About to be 22.
About to be 22.
Yeah. Turned 21 while I was in AIT in Virginia.
Okay.
So I was about to be 22 in 2018. And then late 2018, broke my wrist and couldn't do anything. Couldn't run, couldn't exercise because I broke my wrist. Couldn't work on helicopters. I was a computer guy. I was the guy that did all the logbook recons is what we called them. So we essentially go through the hours in the book from the helicopter and make sure the computer matched. And we went through all the maintenance in a past month and looked and make sure everything was correct and make sure it was all signed off on correctly. We didn't miss anything because there's a whole process. I mean, you're flying in a brick in the sky trying to rip itself apart with 5, 6, 7 people on it that could die if something's wrong. So a lot of processes to go through to make sure everything's ready to fly. And so I was that guy. I learned how to do those things left, right, backwards, and forwards. I could do those in like a day. Usually took somebody like 3 or 4 days to do the whole thing because it would go. So I could do 2 in a day sometimes. I'd be working on 2 at a time. I'd finish one in the morning and have them another one by the end of the afternoon. And the technical inspectors would have to go do the same thing that I just did to make sure I did everything right. And they'd sign off on it. And then it would be good until the next month. So that was my thing. For 4 months, that was my thing. That's all I did.
How did you get into that? Like, is that something that you wanted to pursue when you got into the Army, or did they just kind of? I don't know how any of that works. Like,
so they get you. They really do. Like it's hard to say. Like, it's not like the Marines where they're just like, you're going to do this. That's how the Marines is. And unless you have a super high ASVAB score, you don't get a choice in the Marines. It's like, you're going to be gunnery, you're going to be a grunt, you're going to be infantry, you're going to fly helicopters, you're going to do this, blah, 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 whatever. But the Army is like, hey, here's the jobs you qualify for. What do you want to do? So I qualified for a decent amount. I got a 59 on the ASVAB, which is not great, but it's higher than average, and average is probably like a 34. And that's like, you can do some low-level stuff. You can be a mechanic. You can do this that type of thing, I guess. You can be an HR guy. You can do paperwork. You can be a supply guy. You can be a Humvee mechanic. Anything above like a 55 usually was like the higher thing, like UAV mechanic, Black Hawk mechanic, Apache mechanic, Chinook mechanic, or crew chief. That was part of the job too, was crew chief, which is essentially the mechanic on board that said, let's land, or you're looking out the window and saying, clear back right, clear back right, clear back left, clear front left. That's pretty much all you're doing while you're flying. But there's a lot more that goes into it, but that's what it looks like. So they told me that I qualified for that, and I was like, absolutely. I want to work on Blackhawks. That's cool. Oh, and you get a $20,000 bonus. You'll get $10,000.
Money. Let's go.
You'll get $10,000 after you graduate AIT, and you'll get the next $10,000 broken up over your next 5 years because it was a 6-year contract. Mind you, that was 2017. I got out of the Army in 2020. Didn't finish the 6-year contract. So I owed the other part of the $10,000 that I received, so it was like $4,000 back to the Department of Defense.
So why did you get out of the Army early? Oh, you were
told
injured.
you I broke my wrist.
Okay, you were
couldn't
injured.
run, couldn't work out, couldn't do anything.
Okay,
I got fat.
Yeah,
there's no other way to put it. I got fat.
Yeah,
and it was late 2018. We got my platoon got sent to on this thing. It's an alliance building training mission called Pacific Pathways. Every year, Indo-PACOM, which is Indo-Pacific, Indonesian Pacific Command, Indo-PACOM, was Washington, Alaska, Hawaii, some in California, Guam, all those Indo-PACOM in the Pacific Ocean. And we got sent on a rotational basis. A different unit every year was sent, sometimes twice a year, on a mission called Pacific Pathways, where you'd go to Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Australia, Korea, all these other places, and build alliances with you. You'd build on those alliances that you already had. So we are partners. We're allies with Thailand and the Filipino army and the Indonesian, all those places, the Australian army and South Korea. We already have a base there. Tokyo, we already have, military operations in these places, but a larger presence of just people from different units across the Pacific would build relationships and alliances with those people. So essentially we brought 3 medevac helicopters and 4 assault helicopters and said, this is how we do our job every day. This is how we do this. We showed them what to do. And that was essentially across every job. You went over there and taught them how to do that. So we were there from January of 2019 to a lot of us June 2019. So not an official combat deployment, but you're still away from everybody for 6 months. So I came back like May 27th, I think, and we left January 19th. So just about 5 months. And they pretty much were trying to get me. The reason they wanted me to go was they were like, you'll have less of an option to eat whatever you want there. You'll have less of an option to work out there. And I had just been cleared when they decided that I was going to go to start working out again. So I had like 3 weeks of working out before we left. And so I went home for Christmas, came back, 2 weeks later we left. And that was the exact opposite of what happened. I went to a different country with a cool platoon sergeant and a cool platoon leader. And they said, hey, we're going to work. We're going to do our things. But we're going to have fun. We're in a different country. Often, just a lot of you have never been to another country. Let's have fun. Like, let's do our thing, but have fun. So I ate like crap. I didn't work out when I should have been working out. And I'm not blaming him at all, because he was still on my ass about that type of stuff. But of course I'm not going to do it. I'm in this mode of not doing anything at this point because of my wrist.
Yeah.
So just got bigger. And then I was like, crap, I have 2 months left. I got to try. I got to do something.
How big were you at your biggest?
So I hadn't ever gotten back to what I was before I joined when I was working at Great American Cookie. I was 215. Right now is my biggest.
Oh, really?
But I hold it differently. I was 5 pounds lighter when I joined the Army, but it was all neck and gut. Now it's like legs and a little bit of a gut. And that was because of this moment. I lost all of my gut weight, most of it, not all of it, but in the process, destroyed my knees because I was heavier. And because I said,
carrying
okay,
that weight, yeah.
2 months now, I have to lose weight. I have to pass a PT test whenever I get back to stay in the Army. I have to. So I went hard and just destroyed my body, my back, my knees. And it was a complete breakdown of the cartilage in my knees because I was just destroying it, running more than I should have, probably not like I should have. I'm running wrong, which is runners know, you run wrong, you could destroy your body over time. And that's exactly what I did. I just did a lot of running and a lot of push-ups and a lot of sit-ups because that's what you got to do for a PT test. Used to, now you don't, it's different. But, so I got back, couldn't run. Push-ups, sit-ups, no problem. We get like 85% on those, barely trying, no issue. But I had to run 2 miles in 16 minutes, and I couldn't even do that. Like, just couldn't even do it. Just because my knees would start hurting, and I would just like, oh, this sucks. And I never developed the brain power again to do that. And that's something I'm still working at. I still don't have, great motivational brain power for myself because I'm always scared to go. I'm going to destroy my body again.
Yeah. How are your knees now?
I get disability for them.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I have osteoarthritis in both my knees still, and they pay me for my wrist, and I was getting disability for my back, but when I lost a little bit of weight, it got better. And the next X-ray they saw, they took that off, which I'm not mad at. It sucks that I don't get the bigger paycheck, but I don't care about the money. I'm glad I'm healthier now, but my knees, I don't think will ever get better. I get up and I sound like I'm 60 years old. It pops every time I stand up, and like they get stiff, especially right now with it being 30 degrees. Like my knees are killing me whenever I got out of the car earlier, just because I hadn't warmed them up, and I know you've been seeing me do this every once in a while, like swinging my leg just to kind of get my
get the juices flowing. Yeah,
I do.
What happened?
I guess I pulled it a little bit. I don't know. I don't hear anything.
I still hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things that was just I destroyed my knees, and it's been one of those things that I don't think I'll ever get back. I don't think I'll ever, like, the arthritis in my knees it's destroying them. And it's funny to think about it. That happened to me at 26 years old, 27 years old.
Well, I mean, you said you're
younger than that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was about to say, it's still not that long ago. Like, yeah, if you're 29 now, this is all still pretty fresh.
24. Now I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I lose track of time. I got out of the Army in 2020. So that was
That's
another
5 years ago.
That was another fun thing to talk about too, because I got out of the Army in the middle of COVID.
Yeah. So wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
how was that?
So fast forward. So I got back and took that PT test, couldn't run. And so I met with my commander, and they were like, Broussard, do you want to be in the Army? And I was like, no. And he was like, why? I was like, I feel like the time that I was down for the specific thing, and my wrist, it ruined it for me. I feel like I was just like, I'm not into this anymore. I had fun. I flew a couple of times, but never really got deep into being a crew chief and being one that flew and cool with pilots. And like, I never got into that, which is what I saw other people doing. And was just like, no, I don't. I'm just kind of over it at this point. And that was who I was. I was over it. 3 different grocery stores, a Great American Cook. Like, that's just who I was at that point. And I still have that personality trait, unfortunately, where I find the thing that's wrong, and I'm like,
you fixate on it.
I fixate on it. But that process started right there. He was like, all right, cool. Signing off on you getting out. There, honorable discharge. Didn't do anything wrong. I just couldn't pass the PT test. So that's an honorable discharge. And this was September of 2019. And don't know what happened. I didn't hit 3 years yet. And that's what you need to get all your benefits, 3 years. So I was like, I just kind of did this for nothing. And I'm going to owe this money back. So this kind of sucks. Don't know what happened. Something got held up.
So
I sat there.
Oh, really?
Until January. And I stayed there until January 2020. And they said, all right, you need to schedule this, this, and this, and this. So I had to do what they call Soldier for Life Transition Assistance Program, SFL TAP. And you have to go through all the classes, the job search classes, the resume building classes, the everything, because they want you to succeed. They do. Those classes suck to help you do that, but they do want you to. They're at least giving you something. And then after those classes, it was a 4-day thing. You went to the building where they have all the stuff, which is literally the building where you go to schedule your car inspection to get your car shipped back to the States. book your plane tickets that the Army's going to pay for when you're leaving the island, whether you're changing stations or getting out. That's where you went to do all that type of stuff. And Monday through Thursday, see if you remember the date. My last day of the Soldier for Life Transition Assistance Program was Thursday, March 12th, 2020.
Oh,
The next day, the island shut down. The next day, the governor of Hawaii said, we're done. Wear a mask everywhere. Nothing's going to be open. Barely any flights are coming here unless you live here. And then the next week, the contiguous United States shut down, except for Florida and Texas. So the next day, after I finished my Soldier for Life Transition Assistance Program stuff and was about to start clearing base, the next week would have been out right before my 3 years. So I wouldn't have gotten all the benefits.
you had to stay.
I had to stay because everything closed. I couldn't go clear. I didn't get my clearing papers for another month.
Was that another month? Were you at a year? Or, I mean, were you at 3 years at that point?
2 weeks after that, 2.5 weeks after that, I had 3 years.
Wow.
I would have been out. I mean, that is my biggest look at God moment in my life. I hate to say that about an event that killed so many people and so many people didn't make it through. But for me, it put a pause on a thing that would have taken a lot of the things that I have now. And that's weird to look back on and say, the reason that I was able to hit 3 years, get 100% disability or 100% of the disability that I'm owed, which is 30% of 10 for each of my knees and 10 for my wrist. And I wouldn't have gotten 100% GI Bill, which gave me a broadcast journalism degree and is giving me 8 months of a master's degree, which I'll have to pay for the other 4 months myself. But I get a degree and a half essentially with the GI Bill, which I wouldn't have had 100% of. It wouldn't have gotten me through. It would have paid for some of my bachelor's degree, but it wouldn't have paid for, I think it would have paid for a year and a half out of the 2.5 years it took for me to get that. So I would have had to figure out a way to pay for the other half, which means I probably never would have gone to school.
So you're getting this paid for. What made you choose journalism?
That
You've done
sparked-
so many things different from that up until this point. Army, on all your jobs previous, and you're like, I want to pick this.
So my dad had started a business that cleaned deep fryers. He didn't start the business. He bought a franchise in Lafayette that we went to restaurants, hospitals, universities, and filtered their oil, and we either got rid of the oil or filtered it and put it back and cleaned the fryer while it was filtering. We had this big mobile filter machine, literally called Filta. And he bought that franchise, and we went to Orlando and did the orientation and drove the van back and had all this equipment, got another van, got another piece, got another driver to do it instead of me. I was the operations manager. Then we got another driver for the second van and had 2 routes going, one at night, one during the day. And we were doing real well. And my stepmom just looks at me and goes, Griffin, what's your passion? Randomly in the kitchen one day. And I was like, not cleaning fryers. And she was like, oh, well, you're fired. Like, just as a joke. But that literally just sparked, I don't know what, I mean, just imagine you have a bonfire ready to be lit and you throw a match when it's full of gas, full of lighter fluid, and it just blows up. That's literally what my brain did in that moment. What the hell is my passion? So I said, well, it's sports. I love talking about sports. It's what I want to do. It's what I still want to do. But I was like, how do I do that? Started a podcast. with my best friend.
See, I honestly didn't really know you were that big of a sports guy.
Oh yeah,
What's your favorite sport?
baseball. But
Okay. Okay.
if we're talking like at all levels, baseball. If we're talking at a specific level, college football. Like I had to turn this off because I knew I'm on Do Not Disturb right now because I have Shay Dixon, the LSU beat recruit coverer for On 3 Sports because it's early National Signing Day, and we just got Lane Kiffin at LSU. So I turned that off because I guarantee you I probably have just to look at. This is all my group chat of doing all that stuff. There's
Yeah.
like 40 texts and all of the recruit stuff. I am Houston Astros fan, LSU sports fan, unfortunately a Saints fan, but I'm a massive sports guy.
So you said college football. Do you just follow one team, or you just like the entire?
Obviously I'm an LSU fan.
Yeah.
But I like college football. Like I got the 4 box going on ESPN or YouTube TV, depending on who's playing on TV. But yeah, I'm a massive sports guy. So when she asked that, I was like, well, that's how I got to do it. I just got to start a podcast. So I just did all the research, did exactly what you did. Just got a couple mics, would do Zooms. I would literally put the computer in front of us on a table like this. We're both sitting on the side of the table in his garage with a ESPN on, and we're just kind of like talking about, we called it Tête de Sports, which is hard head in Cajun French, so hard head sports. And we talked about the Saints, the Pelicans, the Astros, LSU, and UL, which is Raging Cajuns. So South Louisiana Sports Podcast is what we.
That's awesome, dude.
So we got like 40 episodes in and got like 70 subscribers on Spotify or YouTube. I think it was maybe combined across all the platforms. And then come like that was in April. And we were just in the middle of it. And so come July, I started thinking, I was like, how do I further this? How do I take it and go even more than what I'm doing now? And so I started searching, just did a normal internet search, and found the Dan Patrick School of Sportscasting. Everybody knows who Dan Patrick is.
Absolutely.
So I was like, why? Okay, let me look into this. And it's at Full Sail University out of Orlando, really Winter Park, Florida, but Orlando. For
one of my best friends lives in Winter Park.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that was ironically exactly where the headquarters of Filta was. That's where we just were doing our orientation, in Winter Park, Florida, right down the road.
Seriously,
right down the road from Full Sail University. And that was my second. What are you telling me? What are you telling me right now, God? Like, because as soon as I saw the address, I was like, that's where we just were, literally 6-7 months ago. It was insane to me that I was seeing that address and was like, well, that's where I need to go. That's where I'm going to go. So I filled out the thing for interested in applying, and they sent me a whole bunch of information, and put that I was a veteran. So they were like, okay, well, you need all this. So I got the letter of eligibility from the VA and did all that stuff. In August of 2021, I started school, and then didn't graduate until February of 2024. And a month later got this job. And I worked for my dad pretty much that whole time.
So you went to school for sports
broadcasting.
Sports broadcasting. And
it's essentially broadcast journalism with a focus in sports.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then when you were looking for jobs, you got the Region 8 job.
Sports is so insanely hard to get into.
Yeah, I mean,
so insanely hard. You'd be shocked at how many people graduate just from that school and don't have a sports job, but they have a job in media. They have a MMJ, multimedia journalist job, reporter, or a producer, or something like that. But they're not in sports. It's insane to me how many people. But yeah, that was Worked for my dad pretty much until December of 2023 because we just didn't have a great relationship because of the business. But then when I got this job, I was like, this is it, on camera, immediately, first job. And I've learned so much since I've been here.
You still want to get into sports?
Yeah, if I can. I mean, I don't know that it's so tough to sit here and say that I absolutely want to do sports no matter what, because I know that schedule sucks. I see what Charles is doing at he's gonna, if he ever listens to this, he'll hate me for saying his age, but I see what Charles is doing at his age with a newborn, essentially, and a 14-year-old son. They have a newborn daughter and a 14-year-old son, and I'm like, Charles, how are you doing this on the weekends and during the week and everything? And like, I don't get it. I don't want to do that. I can have off every weekend. Yeah, it kind of sucks that I work until 11 o'clock at night, but I have off every weekend. It's like a good trade-off.
Yeah.
And especially for my first job, being older, it's like, this was hard to pass up just because I was 27 at that time, and I didn't know where else to go.
You ever been to Arkansas before this?
Yeah. I had. We had been to. Ironically, we had come up to Hot Springs before, and I had been to. I forget where it was. I think it was Conway for something. I can't remember what it was when I was little, but that was it. I'd never really been up to Jonesboro. Never really knew what was around here. I knew that Arkansas State was here, but that was about as far as I knew what was here.
When did your story intersect with Jade?
That was 2022. I was living and with a friend in their spare room and didn't know what to do. And I'll show you this picture just so you can get a reference of what my life was. Literally had 3 suitcases in a box stacked up with my computer and a light kit with my mic, lapel mic, attached to my shirt in a spare room of my friend's house with a year left to go in school, recording an assignment in my room with a computer stacked up on 2 suitcases in a box. That's insane to me to look back on that. And it was around that time, like literally, I was there from June until November of 2022 at my friend's house because the apartment that I had was going up on rent, and I was like, this is not worth what you're trying to charge me. So my buddy was like, hey, come live with me and Megan. We got a spare room. Just pay me $500 a month. I was like, all right, cool. So I lived in their spare room. Only had a 1-bedroom apartment anyway. So I lived in their spare room until his brother was looking for a place to move to. He lived with his mom, their mom. And so I started looking, found a townhouse, and was like, cool, let's move out. And literally that Sunday before we moved out, one of my good friends, which is Jade's best friend, said, hey, y'all are both annoying me with your loneliness talk. How about you talk to each other about it? And that was it. That was literally it. She literally sent me. Jade was actually moving back from DC that day and had just gotten off the phone with Sammy, her friend. And I was texting with Sammy. Just, I think we may have been doing a Friendsgiving or something. And so that's why we were talking. And she was like, hey, I'm really tired of you. And I'm really tired of her. So how about y'all just talk to each other about your problems? I don't want to hear it anymore. And I did the classic. Jade sent me this whole thing. And it was like, I'm Jade, blah, blah, blah. This is whatever. And I pulled it. And I still talk about it. I literally texted her. I was like, well, my name's Griffin, but she can call me anytime. I was like, that's insane that I said that. That I said that in a text to a girl I had never talked to. But yeah, I guess it worked.
Yeah.
So we talked for a couple of weeks, and then she tried to cut it off actually. And then she's like, I'm just not ready. She had just gotten out of a 5-year relationship. She's like, I'm just not ready. I can't. I'm completely understandable. And I don't think she expected me to be like, okay, I respect that. I didn't think she expected that. I don't think she expected me to just be cool.
Yeah.
And so that was the week of Thanksgiving. Our first date was the day before Thanksgiving in 2022. And I was moving out that week. And then a week and a half later, yesterday, actually, was my sister's wedding 3 years ago. And we had stopped talking at this point for like 4 or 5 days. And she was like, I'm not ready for this. And she called me the night of my sister's wedding. One, I had called her because she has a diabetic sister, and my grandmother didn't take her glucose pill and hadn't eaten very much that day, the day of my sister's wedding.
Yeah.
So she's throwing up and about to pass out at my sister's wedding reception. So we're all freaking out. I had never we don't have anybody except her that's diabetic in our family.
Yeah.
So I just called Jade. I freaked out. I knew her sister was diabetic. So I was like, what do I do? What's happening? Is she going to be okay? And she just literally, I still smoke cigarettes at this time. I think I smoked 4 cigarettes in like the 8-minute conversation we had on the phone. I was so scared, and she just calmed me down. And she was the first person I thought of to call. And later that night, she called me and needed a ride home. So I brought her home. I dropped her off at her grandmother's house, which is where she was living at the time. And we just never stopped talking. We started dating January 8th, 2023. And that was, that was a long time ago. Almost 3 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So you said you were an evening anchor. What does a typical day look like for you?
So, typical day. I mean, I'll start you on a Monday, just so it's not weird. On a Monday, I'll wake up 8:30, maybe 9 o'clock, and go downstairs, drink a cup of coffee, drink a Red Bull, eat a yogurt or something, whatever. Hang out with Jade all day. She works from home. So hanging out with her, watching TV, we'll make lunch, we'll go do whatever we have to do in the morning. That's what my appointments usually are in the morning, whether it's doctor or whatever it is. And then I go into work at 2. I usually leave my house about 1:45 because it's only like 11 minutes from our house. Get into work at 2. And at that point, I've already texted or called people from the city or sheriffs or whoever I would need to get in contact with to try to find stories. What's going on today? What's going on this week? What do we need to look ahead to? What do we need to talk about? What's important, or whoever it may be. If there's an event happening.
So is that on just you solely to try to find those stories?
No, I'll pitch them 3 stories sometimes, and they're like, all right, cool. Go do this though. So they find stuff, they have stuff. So it's not so stressful to 100% find everything. Seeing the issue that we run into with me a lot is there's 3 reporters that do stories. The schedules are weird. One reporter works Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The other reporter works Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then another reporter works Monday through Friday. And the other 2 reporters that work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday overlap on the weekends. One of them's the weekend anchor and producer, and the other one's the weekend reporter. So they all have their beats, whether it's Sharp, Randolph, Lawrence counties, Mississippi, Cross, Poinsett, or the other side, whatever. They all have their beats, but they all also do Jonesboro. My beat is just Jonesboro and the Consumer Report, which is like everything that they do. So if it's available to be done at 11 a.m., they're going to do it at 11 a.m. And if that's the only thing going on in Jonesboro that day, then I don't really have anything. So it's just like we got to kind of just pull stuff out of thin air sometimes about certain stories. So it's tough. But get in at 2:30 is our afternoon pitch meeting, which is where we go over like all of our pitches, we've already emailed them to our news director and assistant news director, and they say, hey, tell me a little bit more about this story. What's going on with this? When is this? Does it need to be done today, or can it be done tomorrow? All the details about what's going on with the story pitches that we've had, or hey, here's something we can talk about you doing, or let's collaborate on some things. We'll do that 15, 20 minutes. And then we disperse, and they have a morning meeting too. So the reporters in the mornings that are there all day they work from 9 to 6 or 9:30 to 6:30. They have a morning meeting doing the same thing. So they've already gotten their stories. They're working on their stories. We have an afternoon meeting essentially to have another look at the weather, usually with Ryan or Micah, and then pretty much decide where I'm going, what I'm doing, what's going on that night that we need to try to get. And then I'll make calls if I haven't already. If they go with my story, I've already planned that and made those calls. If they don't, I've got to call the people that I tried to schedule stories with and say, hey, we'll have to do this another day, and then call the people that I've been assigned a story for, whatever it is. But then I'll literally set up a meeting, set up an interview wherever it may be, at City Hall or at a hospital or anything like that. And I'll go meet them. I'll interview them. I'll get some B-roll, go try to find another person to interview for that story, depending on what the story is. Some things only require one person, but a lot of things require 2 or 3 even interviews. But a lot of those are easy to get, and they're just like, yeah, because it's for them. I mean, literally, it takes me longer to set up the camera than it is for the actual interview. And then I'll come back, depending on what time it is, whether it be 4:30, 5 o'clock, and I'll work on the story. I'll put it together, whether it's a short one at 5 or 6 that I hurry up and need to do, or if it's the long one, what we call a package, at 10.
So do you read off like a teleprompter, or like, is there any leeway to just say things that aren't on that? Like, do you get to show your personality any, as far as like going off script?
Yeah. So, that's one of the things that cracks me up. I actually get a lot of people. I do a TikTok live every night when I'm on the news, and because people have never seen the way that a news studio looks. And a lot of people do it.
Really? So you have so is this like your own personal TikTok account, and you do news content on there, or?
Yeah. So, I do, I have almost, wow. I didn't realize how many followers I had. I had 9,300, and people, they're anywhere from 100 to 50 to 100 to 200 people in there sometimes that just sit and watch me do the newscast, and I show them the studio and show them around and everything like that, and turn the camera and put it on the desk facing towards the green screen wall while Ryan or whoever's doing weather is doing weather. And a lot of people enjoy. They're like, I've never seen behind the scenes like this. This is cool. And I'm just trying to grow the awareness of what actually goes into local news. Most people know that there's a green screen there. They know we're reading off a teleprompter. They make fun of it, but it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, we're reading off a teleprompter, but guess what? We just spent 4 hours writing all that stuff. We're not getting it from somewhere. We just wrote it. We just pulled it out of our butts. Like, I don't understand why people don't understand that. The content has to come from somewhere. There are some things that are a national package, whether it be ABC or NBC, which are our stations, they write it. But someone is writing that content. It doesn't just get pulled out of thin air. So I want to bring awareness to people, just like, hey, this is how a local newscast looks. Because you are going to have some national stuff, because there's national news every day. There's stuff that happens in the country that people want to know about. But that's not our focus. That is not our primary focus. Our primary focus is what's happening in Northeast Arkansas. And if there's anything new that we can do and show you at 10 o'clock, we're gonna. But a lot of it's going to be national stuff because I'm the only reporter. So it's...
So you're the only evening anchor?
Yeah.
So what do they do when you're off?
The weekend...
They overlap.
Yeah, the weekend girl will come and do it.
Gotcha.
Or...
Okay.
We're actually training one of the reporters right now as an anchor, just to have another person to replace either the weekend girl or me. So, but we work together with our schedule too. But yeah, the TikTok is really just to bring awareness of like how a local newscast, because most people think news and they immediately think the network. They think David Muir or Lester Holt or Brett Baer, all those people on NBC, Fox, ABC, or they think of that one newscast during prime time that they see on their TV because it comes on before or after something they watch after they get off of work, and that's all they know about news. But local news is such a niche thing that a lot of, and I say niche, but it's all over the country, but people just don't care to know how it works, what happens. So I saw people doing it on TikTok, and I was like, well, I'm gonna do it, because like I'm not doing it for me. I'm half the time I'm not talking to the comments, replying to them. They're just sitting there watching me do whatever I'm doing, whether I go to a different spot and read something, or I'm flipping the camera around and doing weather, or sometimes I'll go live while I'm doing the story, like putting it together. And it's just a lot of stuff that goes into this that a lot of people aren't aware of. But that's not to say that people want to know, but a lot of people think it's cool. So I just kept doing it and kept doing it and kept doing it. When I started this, I probably had like 1,500 followers, and I started this maybe a year ago, and I'm already at 9,000.
Yeah, that's insane. So, do you think that just news as a whole has changed since the growth of like people getting their news from other sources, like, you know, quick sound bites from like TikTok or like YouTube or things like that? Because personally, I'm not someone that watches the local news a lot. I mean, it comes on after like a lot of ball games and stuff. I'm like, hey, there's Griffin, you know what I mean? But like, I know my parents and some people of the older generation still faithfully watch the news, but you know, younger generations are getting their information from a lot of different sources. So, has there been like a change in that?
Yeah, we've definitely, and that's one of the reasons I do it. And that's one of the reasons I don't think I've been told to stop, is because the younger generation doesn't understand what actually is happening, because they don't care. They get their stuff from other places, like you said. But as you grow, as you get a little older, you see your stuff. You may not watch the news, but you probably follow Ryan
Oh, absolutely.
or
Yeah,
Region
yeah,
8 or some of us on Facebook.
yeah,
So you get your news that way. That's the space that everyone's trying to take over, digital.
yeah,
Everything on digital. So we do, like, do you have the K News app on your phone?
yeah,
You have the notifications turned on?
yeah,
So you get breaking news notifications all the time. You get weather notifications all the time. That's why we're trying to push that stuff. You get a notification whenever I go live on the app, and you can see me
yeah.
on digital on your phone. That's why. That's why we're trying to do that. We're trying to branch. Everybody is. It's not just Gray Media, which owns KIT. It's Scripps, Hearst, everybody. I mean, every media company, every media conglomerate that owns a local TV news station in the country is trying to break into that digital space first. But nobody's ever going to be first. Everybody's just going to be, in my opinion. I don't think you can be first. There's people that were first, like Joe Rogan in podcasting, that just are first and just have that success, not because they're first, but because they were first and who they were. So no media station is going to be able to say, or media conglomerate is going to be able to say, I was first and we're better. It's like, because in this market, we are the only real news station. That's not me trying to take a shot at KJNB. That's just,
I don't even know who that is. So.
exactly. They're locally owned, and they're good at what they do, and they have great reporters and anchors. But KIT is just so much bigger because it's not locally owned. That's all I'm saying. So it's just different. But in this market, that's it. That's why. Because KJMB is locally owned, they don't put a whole lot of money into local news. So we do. And in certain markets, you have different stations that are a part of different companies In Memphis, you got 4 stations, 5, I think. And WMC is owned by the same company that owns us. And it may be the number 1 station one year or 1 month, but it may be the number 3 the next month. It just depends on what's happening, what's going on, and how it works. Most of the time, somebody stays number 1 for a while, but markets change, and markets are grown differently for different companies. So everybody's going to try to break into that digital space, and that's one of the reasons that I do. It's one of the reasons Ryan is so good on Facebook.
I was just about to say that he's like a local celebrity. Like, I'm telling you, if the weather sprinkles outside, my wife is like, we need to see what Ryan Vaughn's doing.
Yeah, it's could be a better person too, honestly. Like, he's good at it. He really is good at it. But it's a thing that he's good at. That's not who he is, which I appreciate about him, because he can be literally probably the most recognizable face in Northeast Arkansas. 100%. I don't think anybody will argue with me on that.
No.
So, and I'm not from here, but like, it's hard not to be. He's literally saving people's lives in some instances. So that's where you build that trust, and that's where you build that notoriety, and that's why he continues to do what he does, because people listen. And he does it in the right way. It's fantastic, the way he engages with everything, and everybody engages with him, because that's growing the digital space. And you look at our competition is not KJ&B when it comes to TV, and it's not a shot at them again. That's just, they don't have the resources that we do for TV news. Our competition is Jonesboro Right Now and NEA Report. Because if they get 85 shares and we get 30, we hate that. It's going to happen. They're going to be first on some things, but we don't want them to be. Why would we be? Why would we want them to be?
Absolutely.
Like, in the news business, that's just how it is. You want to be first, but you also want to be right. On that digital space is where everything's going to be first, because it's so quick. I don't have to sit here and edit something. I don't have to break down a story. I can type, fact check, proofread, post. That's it. That's all you have to do.
Yeah. So when new news comes out, how do you determine like what is fact?
Reliable sources. I mean, you just have to be. And we've been bitten before. A report will come out and it might have, not intentionally, but it might have something that's wrong, and that's what we went off of. So we've gone off of the reliable source, and it's been, I won't say wrong, but like a detail is different. And somebody, whoever that's about, will bring it up. So we have sources that we trust, and you have sources that you trust, and you don't necessarily fact check those, because those are the fact checks, the reliable sources. So if it's coming from a reliable source, you don't necessarily have a way to fact check that unless you're calling the person, did you do this? I mean, it's literally the only way to do it. But it's tough sometimes, because we get stuff in and it's like, well, this could be true, but there's no way to verify it. So if somebody else can verify it before us, it stinks, but they're going to be first.
Yeah.
I
think I saw a story concerning like the Parks and Recs the other day. Is that something y'all are going to be covering too? Like, I think it was on like Jonesboro Right Now or something. You know what I mean?
It was yesterday, and we are covering it, and I can't go into it.
Yeah. I figured that much, but
that's literally a perfect example. NEA Report got pictures that they were sent in anonymously through to NEA Report, and we didn't get those pictures.
Yeah.
So NEA Report has them. We don't have them.
So that was an instance where they would have been first, but
they got that. Not only first, but only exclusive.
Yeah.
The word exclusive is massive in the world of news.
Yeah.
Because if it's exclusive, then that's great. There's certain things that you can and can't use exclusive for. Exclusive is you're the only one that has something like it. So
What stops what stops especially digitally y'all from using those same pictures?
copyright.
Okay, so I didn't know
Every
that.
time you send a picture and to like, see it, snap it, send it, our
Yeah.
little photo submission thing, the form you fill out gives us the right to use those.
Got you. So you don't have the right to use.
We don't have the right to use anybody else's stuff unless we send them a copyright form. So like I could text you a copyright form right now if I took a picture or you took a picture and sent it to me. I can send you a copyright form and I have the right to use that. Or you just don't care that I do and you won't report me or
Yeah.
anything. But that to cover your base is copyright. And there's different kinds of copyright. We have social media copyright, something that somebody posted and you want to use it. You just say, hey, you posted this on Facebook. Can I use this?
Got you.
Hey, you emailed me these photos and videos. Do you give me permission to use them?
So that's kind of like when you see on Instagram somebody's like video, like Sports Center or reposted or something. Like they had to send them something and be like, "Hey, can I use this video?"
Social media is a little weird.
Okay,
If they're reposting and it gives them credit on a social media platform,
you can do that.
yes. But like actual reposting or like they have the video and they're posting it on their account.
So let's say Sports Center sees a video.
And they send you. You ever got one of those messages? Hey, can we use your video?
No, I've seen those videos though.
That's what they do.
Okay,
They send you.
that's what
They
I was
send you a
asking.
message.
Yeah,
And a lot of like somebody will DM you. It's usually an assistant producer or
yeah,
something
like an
for
admin
somebody.
or something for.
Yeah, and they'll say, "Hey, do you give us permission to use this video?" A lot of social media, that's the way. That's their coverage because it's a weird thing because it's like social media is public anyway.
Exactly.
So it's weird, but they still want to cover their base and say, "Hey, do you give us permission to use this?" And as soon as you say yes, I promise you, that's a screenshot somewhere in a folder.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So, because we have every copyright agreement that we have, we literally call it the morgue. It's dead somewhere in a folder, but it's still there. It's sitting, waiting. If something happens, boom, there it is. We can pull it up.
Do you know the girl that got famous on online, the Haley Welch?
Yeah.
Did you hear that whole story about like the original people that had the video got upset with Haley Welch because she was in their video but didn't credit them, and then obviously she got notoriety off the video. I don't think anything ever came of it, but I just thought that was interesting. That's what it made me
Well,
think of.
the thing about that is she didn't use the video. She used what happened in the video. And if we're being honest, she happened in the video.
Yeah,
So you're going to tell somebody they can't do what they do? That's where, a couple of lines and fair use and all this other stuff comes in.
right.
It's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo that comes out and you're just like, what? What are you talking about? I did something in your video. I did something. Yes, you have the rights to your video. I have the rights to what I did. You can't. That would be a fun court battle if they really tried to go to court over something that
Yeah.
she did in their video.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I would love to hear what a ruling would be about a copyright lawsuit for something that she got famous for doing
Yeah.
in their video.
Yeah. Because obviously the video blew up, but like their account really didn't. She did. She started getting all of that, and I think she was asked about it in her interview, and she was just like, forget those guys or whatever, and that's where it kind of all stemmed though. So
That's funny.
um,
It was very funny to think about, though. Just like, I did something in your video and you're mad that I'm talking about it.
yeah, yeah.
Weird. It's weird.
So why do you think that there is such a need for local news in 2025?
It's a loaded question. And I've been a big advocate since I've started here for local news because in communities like these, there will always be people that don't pay attention. Even in our generation, there are people that don't have social media. There are people that don't have a Facebook or Twitter, X. And that's where they get their information. It's whenever you turn the TV on and you have somebody like Diana Davis sitting there telling you, hey, here's what happened today and here's what's happening tomorrow. There's something about that is very necessary in today's society, because you don't have to have a phone in your hand all the time. And I think I don't like thinking of everybody being Wally in the future on that space cruise ship, sitting in a chair with everything happening in front of their eyes. You get it in one spot for 30 minutes and then you go about your business. And we don't cover everything every night. Obviously we can't, it's impossible, but, local news is really it's hard to put it into words, because I think it's necessary, because the way you get information doesn't have to be the same every time. It can be on the news, it can be on Facebook, it can be through a friend. I mean, if we're talking about specifically being necessary, you could argue that anything's not. Social media is not necessary. But we do it and it works. And I think local news is still effective because, one, weather, that's the biggest driver. And most people will wait until that main weather segment comes on and then they turn it off. And,
is our local news judged off of viewership, ratings, or anything?
yeah, I mean, everybody's got ratings. Regular TV shows have ratings, and that's how they judge how they're successful. And I mean, ours are good. Ours are some of the good. English is hard. Some of the best in the country when it comes to market size. We have some of the best ratings and viewers because Northeast Arkansans are very passionate about their local news. And a big driver of that is obviously Ryan Vaughn and weather and Christina and Micah. And obviously what used to be Cass, who's now our news director, but Aaron. But local news is to the point where you either really enjoy it or you don't. You're going to get your news elsewhere. But we also have those digital avenues, which are still local news. Jonesboro right now, still local news. NEA report, still local news. Just because they're not on TV doesn't mean they're not local news. So, I think a lot of people don't like to read too. Like they don't like to read that type of stuff. Tell me what's going on. That's it. I don't need to read a 4,000 word article about what's happening in Jonesboro tomorrow. I just tell me the hits, and that's why I think a lot of people watch it still. They want to know the hits of each thing, and it's essentially the clip era. It's like, hey, just tell me the snippets and tell me the most important facts.
That is so true too, because I can't really remember the last time I saw like someone in a newspaper, reading. And I just remember as a kid, my dad would get the Jonesboro Sun like every day. Mm-hmm. Every day he would read the Jonesboro Sun with a cup of coffee. And, you could go in there and you could look at the local high school sports scores and things like that. They'd have the crosswords in there. And I definitely think that's something that people are going away from, for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, you think about like what the articles are. They're just newspaper articles. It's the same thing. It's just online.
Yeah, exactly.
Still, a lot of people don't want to read that stuff. So that's why video is necessary, in my opinion. See, on every one of our articles, you go on almost every one of our articles, every story we do, the clip from the newscast is at the top. It's like, hey, here's the article if you want to read it, and probably has a little more information in there. But here's the clip if you just want to watch it. So we give you both options, but again, digital. It's all driven towards that. You listen to how many times we say it every newscast. It's like, to find more information, go to KIT8.com. Or after big stories, it's like, hey, download the KA News app and turn on your notifications. We'll send breaking news alerts right to your phone as they happen. So it's all pushed towards that because that's where the money is coming from nowadays. A lot of people want to put their ad in an article versus on TV. They want to go, hey, put me in 20,000 articles. Put me on your website in this spot for 3 months instead of a commercial because they see it more. They get more traffic that way. And that's everywhere. That's for everything. I mean, what do you see on ESPN when you put on commercials? Whenever they play commercials, SportsCenter, it's just infomercials. Nobody wants to advertise on that anymore. And it's tough because it's not local. They can't be local. So you do get some sometimes, but very rarely do you see something different than an infomercial.
Absolutely.
On SportsCenter.
Yeah.
Unless there's a game on. That's when their ads come on. Their pointed ads. And that's the big stuff, the big ads. But like everything's driven through the digital space because that's what people want to do now.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit, so I'll ask you this question. I've been just kind of floating around in my group chats, and so I'll ask you this. Do you think that there is a price to pay to being authentic? Like online, like, we're sharing this conversation, and do you think there's a price for being authentic? Because I think that like when people know things are being recorded or going to be on video, or it kind of tends to change what they really are going to say about it. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
do you think there's a price for authenticity?
Well, I think there's two different ways you can look at a price for authenticity. The price for authenticity could be I could get fired. If somebody doesn't like something I said in the past hour and a half, they could let me go. That's the price. That's one of the prices. Another price is if people don't like your truth or your authenticity, you're not going to be successful. That's another almost monetary price to pay. That's something I feel like I've prided myself on in my life is I don't care. I don't care what happens. You're asking me to talk and be honest with you. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't care. What happens to me is what happens to me. And I have learned that over my life. It's like I can control a whole lot of my life, but there are some things that I'm never going to be able to control. So I can sit here and be fake and have a fake conversation with you, and I'm only using our conversation as an example.
Right.
I can sit here and be fake, and be worried about everything I say is going to be listened to by somebody, and they're not going to like it, and I'm going to get fired, or I'm going to get some backlash for something I said about KJ&B. I'm not taking a shot at them. I told you, like I'm not. It's just the reality of the world. I'm trying to be as authentic as I can be, and everybody should be. And I sit there and I read some of the TikTok comments that I get while I'm live, and everybody's like, sitting there telling me I'm a liar and I'm the fake news and all this other stuff, and it cracks me up. It's like, yeah. I'm telling you when the Jonesboro pool is going to be open. I'm totally fake. Totally lying. I'm telling you about Joy Fest coming Saturday at 3:00. And yep, that's a lie.
Yeah.
It cracks me up because local news is one of the most authentic things in the media space in the world. Obviously, you can't, and I'm not, people can say a lot of stuff about the network broadcasting stuff. Oh, that's fake news. You say what you want about it. But local news, how are you going to tell me that I'm lying about, one, either a police report? Like, you can't tell me I lied about a police report. I'm telling you what the facts are. That's it. So I didn't lie. I just went off of reliable sources. And two, am I lying about what time the pool's going to open, what time Joy Fest is happening, what time the tree's going to be lit, what time the parade is? Hey, they have this thing at the parade Friday. It's a sensory area. So Heather Talley's done a fantastic job of building this up in her second year, and it's finally back on Main, thank goodness. But they have a sensory area. So kids, I don't know if it's in one of the businesses, I don't know what it is, but so you can kids that are autistic or have sensory issues can go and be and watch the parade and see the parade and maybe not listen to it, but see it, or maybe listen to it and not have to hear it, however they need to be. Am I lying about that? That's what cracks me up about, and it goes with the authenticity thing of local news is one of the most authentic things on TV, because TV shows aren't authentic. That's fake. It's all fake. It's based on real stuff, but like Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad show. I love fiction. I love TV shows. Stranger Things is fantastic, but like, that's fake. So you look at what local news is. It's literally telling you what's going on in your community, regardless of what it is, whether it's an arrest that's been made, whether somebody's, whether somebody's having an event that people need to go to or know about, or an event that's happened for the last 20 years that, hey, this is the date that it's happening, or whatever. We're just trying to tell you what's happening in your community. So that's one of the most authentic things you can be. We're talking about A-State Giving Tuesday, and they benefited the student food pantry or something like that, I think. And you got tickets to the game last night if you donated. Like, stories like that just talk about, I'm doing a story series right now on the history of things in Northeast Arkansas. I'm not from here. You think I want to do this? I've learned to love it, and I do want to do it now. But like at first, it's like, I'm going to have to do stories about the history of Arkansas, and I'm not even from here. But then I started learning about the history of Arkansas. I'm like, it's pretty cool. Again, history is one of my best subjects.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So like, I get into it. I wrote a story about the history of Blytheville Air Force Base. I had to cut like 70% of it out because it was going to be 9 minutes on TV. I can't do that. So I had to cut it. I have to say it's 70%. It was probably like 40% because I think it wound up being like 5.5. But like, I'm not lying about that. I'm not. That's authentic. It's the real history. It's I'm being me, learning about this and telling you about it. And that's all we're doing with every story we do. We're learning about it, putting it in a way that we can tell you and you learn about it. That's the best way I can put why local news is important and the importance of being authentic in what you're saying. Because I try to be authentic in everything I say. And I think it only helps that local news is one of the most authentic things in the media world today.
One of the last questions I got for you is, what would you tell somebody that has an interest in pursuing the field that you've decided to go into? Like, what path would you recommend if you could do it all over again, straight line path? What does that look like for somebody?
Know exactly what you want to get into in the journalism world. There are writers, there are broadcasters, there are producers. There are a lot of different ways to be involved in not just local news, but do you want to be a staff writer somewhere for an online blog or newspaper type thing? Do you want to be an anchor or a reporter? Figure that specific thing out first, and you can do that by doing it. You have a camera, you have your phone, buy a $20 mic, buy a $20 lapel mic, go walk around, get you a tripod, and go walk around and do literal interviews with random people at Target. If you don't like doing that, you don't want to be a reporter. Yeah. And then you look at it, find something that's happening in your area, go to it, take notes, little tidbits of notes. What's happening? What's going on? Little things. Go home, write a 400-word article on it. You don't want to do that? You don't want to be a reporter. There's a lot of people that look at me and say, wow, you're just an anchor. I go get a story almost every day. I write articles almost every day. And it's not easy, but I think figuring out specifically what you want to do, if you like typing stories, like if you like writing broadcast stories specifically, you might want to be a producer. It's still journalism. You're still learning about journalism, and you're still putting out news or whatever type of thing is. But if you like that on-air writing versus article writing, you might want to be a producer.
Is college the best way to get into it, or is there like another way?
It doesn't have to be. Listen, obviously, I'm not a person that's going to tell you to go to college. I feel like there are a lot of people in today's world that have found a way to be successful in this industry without having a degree. It's probably going to be a little easier, especially this generation. I think we're 2 generations away. And I really feel like it could be this next generation, like our kids, that may not have to be forced into that stigma of a college degree is going to help you no matter what. But right now, I think we're still in there, still in that mode. So it'll probably make it easier. I don't think it's necessary, but it would probably make it easier. And I'm getting my master's in new media journalism right now. It's a little bit of broadcasting focus and a little bit of writing focus and a little bit of public relations and crisis management. That's more of a, media relations, community engagement, communications director style degree, master's degree. So it's not just broadcast. So I've seen a lot more stuff.
So is that going to open up more doors from an employment standpoint for you just by having that?
Probably, because we're still in that stigma. For our generation, I think people just look at you and say, "What do you have?" All right, cool. You have the qualifications, and they look at that paper as a qualification. But I've seen people with the same degree as me not.
Yeah,
they're not. Nope. And it's and I've seen people that with the same degree as me who were better than me in school. One of my good buddies from school, still talk to him regularly, in a fantasy league together. He was our salutatorian. February of 2024, we graduated. Does not have a job. Makes no sense.
What do you think that is? Why do you think that is?
I think it's because of a stigma, because he has a stutter. But there's so many other things that he can do, and he would be good at. Producer, digital content producer, even a director, master control, pressing the buttons in the control room. He'd be fantastic at either one of those. He understands he may not be a good reporter because he's got a stutter. And it gets better whenever he gets comfortable. But people look at it and they're like, you're not qualified. You have a stutter. But there's 17 other jobs he could do. It really annoys me because we're talking to a dude that knows what he's doing. And now he has to do freelance YouTube editing, which he enjoys, but it's not what he wants. And he's a salutatorian.
Yeah.
And I was probably middle of the pack with my class, and most everybody was like a weekend sports acre where they did one day a week. And they were just the grunt that was running from game to game to game to game to game to game. And now they're a weekday anchor. Or I got lucky. I have no doubt in that. I got lucky. But the one who gave me my shot isn't there anymore. She was let go. But I'm forever grateful to her. She saw me and was like, this dude's got potential. Assistant news director, who's now at the assistant news director at WMC in Memphis, was like, yeah, let's give him a shot. And I'm forever grateful for that because I don't know where I'd be. The other job offer I had was not offer, but interview, which probably would have offered me, was a weekend producer for WAFB in Baton Rouge. Same company, same parent company. But I would have been producing Jacques Doucet's sports show, who was the Louisiana Sportscaster of the Year. Been at the same station since right before Nick Saban came to LSU. Like covered that. That's where I knew him from when Saban got to LSU from Michigan State in 2001. Jacques Doucette had just gotten there, and we kind of saw him, and he's been there ever since. And I would have produced his show on Fridays, sports high school football show on Fridays, and I probably would have been able to go to LSU games a lot. And I turned that down to be on air because it's so rare
to be on air
consistently, especially as a first job. I mean, that's the thing that I forget sometimes. This is my first job out of college. It's insane to think about, but I'm 29 years old, and I was in the Army for 3 years, and I worked for my dad as an operations manager for 3 years, and I also had job hopping for 3 years. There's been so many phases in my life. They're like, most people are like, what? You did all that? And it's like, yeah, it's not really a lot to me because I've just done it. I've already done it. It doesn't seem like a lot now. It seemed like a lot then. But when I look back on everything that I put myself through, and I won't say been through because I put myself through it, I wouldn't take anything back because getting that DUI I would have never. I'd probably be a salesman making $35,000 a year or $40,000 a year in Lafayette, Louisiana, selling beer. Probably more than that, but still. And if I never would have had that second thing happen to me in the Army, probably still be in the Army.
Everything happens for a reason at the right time when it's supposed to happen.
Yeah. And I mean, same with Jade, you know. My diabetic grandmother doesn't eat and doesn't take her glucose pill the day of my sister's wedding, and the first person I think of is the person who cut me off a week ago. Only because her sister's diabetic. And then that night she's like, I need to ride home, and we just never were separated again. And a month later we were dating. Everything happens for a reason, and I have never been. I mean, my stepmom did just say, what's your passion? Randomly in the kitchen one day. Which kicked off everything happening now. I don't.
Yeah. It's a great story, man. I've really enjoyed listening to it. Truly, it's been one of my favorite interviews I've done so far. You ever think about starting your podcast again?
If I were to, I would have to be not employed at a news station. One, I can't officially. I mean, I can, since it wouldn't be talking about like Arkansas State or Arkansas. Anything we talk about, I can't talk about on another media source. So couldn't do like anything like local. But if I wanted to do the Louisiana Sports Podcast again, the only reason I stopped doing it, I tried to do it a little bit by myself after the reason he did it was he stopped was because he had another kid and it was just tough. And so I completely understood whenever you said that.
Yeah.
But he couldn't do it. He just couldn't do it anymore. Now he's a state trooper. So now he really can't do it. And so it's like, I need somebody to bounce off of. I can't talk into a mic by myself for an hour and a half. I can't. Especially about sports. That's so tough.
Yeah.
Like the only reason sports are so fun to talk about is because you have somebody to talk crap to or
absolutely
talk back and forth with.
Yeah.
About whatever it is you're talking about. So I definitely have thought about it. I've definitely thought about starting other podcasts. Like, I mean, the family dynamic thing, like I've done that for school and I was like, that would be awesome in my opinion.
Yeah.
To just talk to random people about their dynamic in their family specifically.
Yeah.
Like the way you do it, just random people just about their career path and their life and how it got them to where they are now. Same thing with their families. Like, how do you shape your family? What do you want to do when you're raising your kids? Like that type of thing.
Yeah.
I thought that would be cool because I have pretty crazy family story. So I feel like I don't have a lot of experience in every type of family, but my mom kicked me out and my sister is my best friend. My dad cheated on my mom. And they got divorced, and it's crazy to think about. All that stuff happened to me when I was 9 and 17, like less than 10 years apart, all that stuff happened to me.
Yeah.
So it'd be a cool podcast. But like I've thought about a bunch of different things like that. It's just like time. Time.
No, I absolutely agree with that. Like I did another podcast because like when I was like in the middle of it, like really doing it, I was doing this podcast. And me and my buddy that told you he moved to Winter Park, Florida. We did like a movie and entertainment podcast. It was called Watch List Wednesday. So we would just talk about all the stuff we were watching, movies and stuff that were coming out, like whatever. And then Patrick's wife and Destiny did a podcast. Like they did like a true crime podcast where they would talk about serial killers, but they would identify their personality types. So it was called Killer Personality, and they would talk about like, hey, this Israel Keys. Like they would go over his story, what he did, what Enneagram type they think he was, and they actually got like a lot of traction. So like I love podcasting. I love all different types of audio media. Like, if you ever see me with my headphones in, I'm probably listening to some type of podcast. So I think they're great. I mean, like I said, if you ever do get time back again and you want to go back into something, you let me know, because I'm always down to support a fellow podcaster.
Well, I appreciate you, man. This has been great.
Is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
Whew.
What do you got to say to the people out there?
This is kind of going to go on your authenticity track. I spent so long not being myself. High school and the Army. Spent so long of my life not being myself. The best advice that I can give you is to find out who that is early and never let him go or her go. Because you're going to be so much happier. You're going to be so much more content with your life if you find out who you are earlier and never let them go. And it's hard to do. But whatever you need to do to explore and find out who you are, do it. Don't hesitate. Find out who you are and never let them go.
Griffin, I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me, sharing your story. The K8 team is lucky to have you. And I'm excited to see what happens with you in the future. And I'm just grateful that we got to catch up, man.
Yeah, me too. I appreciate you, Devin. I'm thankful to be able to tell a little bit of my story.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna have to do a part 2, because I really feel like we could probably talk another 2 hours, and
Probably.
not really even try. So I appreciate everybody for taking the time to listen, and until next time, peace.